What's up? This is episode, I think, 17. What's up, Julia?
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing good. Ladies and gentlemen, this Julia right here, this is a Milwaukee legend.
Oh.
She's a Milwaukee celebrity, you know. You can see her. First of all, she's a supermodel. Like a legit one. Signed to an agency, not an Instagram supermodel free. Like, I'm talking about like legitimate one. You feel me?
Instagram got money. Hold on.
I know they do. I'm not knocking on them. I'm just saying, like, it's hard to be signed nowadays, right?
This is true.
You know?
Yeah.
She's a supermodel. She also works for the Milwaukee Bucks. If you've ever been to a Bucks game, you will see her turning up the stands, you know. And overall, she's just an inspiration to a lot of people here in the city, and myself included. So thank you for coming on the show, Julia.
Appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Julia, how long have you been a model?
Oh my gosh. I've been a model for 12 years. 12 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're like your 20s, right?
I'm 26.
26?
Yes.
Okay. So was that since 14?
Correct.
How'd you get into it at 14?
Yeah. So I went to a fashion show with one of my friends, and the designer needed a new model, and he's like, "Hey, can you model for me?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." It's probably like 5'8" at the time, like 5'9" now. And yeah, from then on, that's how I got in.
5'9" is pretty tall for a lady, right?
Yeah, I think the national average is like 5'7".
Really?
Or maybe it's 5'5".
I thought
maybe
it was like
went
5'6".
down.
Yeah.
Dang, last time I checked, it was 5'7".
5'7" actually sounds kind of tall. Because I know like 5'9" is average height for a guy, I think.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah.
So, is that still one of the requirements that you need to be tall to be a model?
It is, but there are so many different types of modeling, you know, like you really don't need to be a certain height or body type. You just got to get into your niche.
I feel that.
Yeah.
Is it hard constantly having to live up to the physical expectations of being a model?
It can be, depending on the spaces you put yourself in. I'm very blessed to be in an agency that has never been super negative in terms of look or body or anything. They will really just place you where you fit. And so my weight has absolutely fluctuated in the 6 years I've been with them. And they have models of all different shapes, sizes, and heights. And we all work. We just all do different jobs.
Yeah, you sound like a model.
Do
models take like voice training?
No, they don't. I have a music background, so maybe that's what you're hearing. But
potentially,
that's also just my voice.
I feel that.
Yeah,
I feel it's very poised.
Oh, thank you.
But a thing that I understand about the modeling industry is that for a lot of people, it can be very mentally tolling.
Absolutely.
What is it about the industry that causes that for some people?
Yeah, well, I mean, let's face it, modeling is all about facades, about looks, about perceptions. And if you place all of your salt, all of your worth, all of, everything that you care about in that, and you don't have the separation and the boundaries enough with what people think about you and what is actually true, you can get lost in it. And definitely, like, starting out at 14 with modeling, I had some situations where, like, I'm still a kid. I'm still a high schooler. And, someone's telling you something, like, my thing was that your thighs are too big. And I got into the industry.
People would say that to you?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I got into the industry when it was more like you wanted to be stick thin, and they were just starting to be body positive, and including girls who were size 2, size 4 and more. But there were like 1 or 2 people who would be like, if you just like thin out your hips a little bit, like we could get you further. And thinking about that, like saying that and hearing that, it's crazy. But you're not always prepared to handle the weight of that. And so I definitely had to do a lot of work as a high schooler to be like, no, Like, that's not for me. And, this is the way that I've grown. This is the way that, God made me.
Yeah.
This is how I'm going to show up. And I just kind of pushed past that. But you definitely have to do the work, and you have to be aware that, like, what people say is really not that important. And damn, that's hard.
No, I feel.
Yeah, sorry if can I swear in here?
Yeah, you can swear as much as you want.
Okay.
The more authentic, the better.
I do a little cussing. It's a little.
I love it,
a little
man.
Sprinkle.
I love it.
Yeah.
But when you hear a modeling coach say things to you like that, like you got to get your hips, your waist smaller, your thighs smaller, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What does that say about them?
Exactly. And it doesn't say the best things. It doesn't say that they're really trying to be a part of a healthier industry. Because believe me, there is a healthy side of the industry, and there are people who are out here, being warriors for models and just encouraging people to show up as we naturally should. And that's, the agents in my agency and a lot of the clients I work with, if not all. It's not even a thought, to tell me to change my weight in any way. But there were, 10 years back, and there certainly probably still are people in these spaces that are trying to, tell models to fit into one box. Mm-hmm. And like, it's just so unhealthy. And I'm always here to kind of perpetuate being healthy in whatever way is good for people. And, sometimes it's not trying to be a size 2.
Yeah.
Some people are a size 2, and so we shouldn't harp on the size 2s either. But however your body grows is really how it's supposed to be. And
how it's supposed to be.
People that are pushing that, and the modeling industry is
it makes more sense to have a variety of different type of models and looks, because the definition of a model is you're modeling how this is going to look on you.
Right.
So if there's only this typical mainstream model look, you're not showing you're not showing everyone what this product will look like on you.
Absolutely.
If I am a 5'9", 185 pound or 185 pound white girl, and then you're modeling this dress on this 6'2", let's go 6 foot, this 6 foot, 150 pound light skinned black model, I can't see myself in that dress, so it's not necessarily going to sell as well. But if you get a model that looks like that, 5'9" or whatever, 180 pound girl, white girl who's watching the commercial, mm-hmm. If you get a model that looks just like her, she's more than likely going to see herself in that product better than she would watching that other light-skinned girl who looks nothing like her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
So it would even make more sense for corporations to accept the variety of looks and for models. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And I think that's the thought process and why you are seeing, a diverse range of models now. I think in the past, and it's still going on, not like things have really changed that deeply, but people or the modeling industry really liked to perpetuate a look that was almost unattainable, and people just weren't ready to be the first ones to do things right and healthily. They just kind of wanted to keep up with the Joneses. And, we're rolling off the early 2000s with just like stick thin girls. Having hips used to not be like the desire. Remember when kind of Kim Kardashian became like the body type that people desired? Before that, it was like Coke model thin.
It's crazy that was Kim, right?
Yeah, I mean it was a lot of people, but that curvy wave came in like 2010s, 2015s. It wasn't always the thing.
I hate when people they say things like racism and colorism doesn't exist. Because it's so evident when we see situations like you just said, Kim Kardashian is the person who made that body type popular.
Right. It shouldn't
But
really have been. But
Black women naturally have that body type.
precisely.
A lot of them do.
Yeah.
By nature.
Yeah.
And it wasn't popular until a white girl bought it.
No.
So like that is,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
No, that's very true. I literally have memories of just, bless up. I love my mother, and she's always pumped so much love and, positivity and just
That's
like self-confidence into myself. And definitely is part of the reason why I'm able to be confident in the modeling industry. But, when I was younger and I'd be like, oh, like I wish my body was like this or like that, I used to dance. So I really did want to be thinner at a time. And my mom would be like, girl, like, very candidly, and Mom, sorry if I'm airing you out, but she's like, you have like the body type that people, may dream of. And even if you don't, like, you got to love what you got. And I just kind of internalized that and kept it pushing. And then one day, my body type was accepted in the modeling industry, actually, pushed for. And now it kind of works for me.
Wait, what do you mean your type? I thought like you seem like,
I mean, I'm thin, but
yeah, isn't that seems to be the type
hips.
that's always okay.
I have hips, and that's the little difference for me.
Who is selecting these models? That's always been my question.
I mean, it's like a historical
these, like,
wave that has just been dropped down, and no one. That's why
that's not what most people think attractive women. People like curves on women. People don't necessarily like strong, chiseled jawlines on women. This is true. It's so like they don't
what
like
is the
stick.
Motivation really.
It's as if like it's almost the mainstream modeling industry for the longest time was selecting women with boyish features. Mm-hmm. Why?
Well, there's probably so many different reasons. I know one of the claims was that, well, maybe this is how it started, but designers, they are kind of broke and they can only afford so much fabric. So they're making sample sizes. And so sample sizes are 00 to 2.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. So this is back, like when Naomi and all of them are on the runway, and think about how rail thin they were. And so to fit into the clothes and therefore work with the designers, they were super skinny. And that was one of the reasons that was put up. But it's also probably just completely unhealthy and unrealistic beauty standards that people wanted to keep.
Yeah.
And then you have that happening just for years and years, and no one's confident enough to be like, no, we're going to have like a curvier girl. We're going to have more realistic sized people. Like that hasn't really happened until recent years. And, people are they're not really good at stepping out of the wave all the time.
What about, actually, you're actually the second model I've had on this show. Mm-hmm. The first model I actually had, I know I threw some shade on Instagram freelancers, but she's been doing both. And like some people actually choose the option to be Instagram freelancers, and that's what she's done.
Yeah.
Why do you think some girls do that?
Because you have control over your creative process. I mean, I get into social media content creation as well. Mm-hmm. That's what I do for my 9 to 5, and I also am signed with my agency as an influencer.
Yeah.
But yeah, you go on shoots and you get to be a part of a beautiful vision, but it's not always yours.
Gotcha.
And
that's what she was explaining. She just felt like she didn't have control of herself.
Yeah.
And being a part of an agency, and she's found more happiness, basically, and fulfillment in doing it herself. Mm. And if you network right, the right people, and like you can get a consistent thing with certain photographers, and like that's truly consistent money coming in.
Building up your network, and you can do that in or out of an agency.
Precisely, yeah. You just kind of have to be your own agent, basically.
Always.
And we're in an era where that's like this agency idea. We're in an era where the only agencies were a thing for the longest time because people needed to get connected to the bookers.
Right.
Because we didn't know the bookers, and there was only so many ways. But now with like internet, and you could be a stunning girl with you have a good photographer. Take good shots. You could just post pictures of your modeling photos and then find out who the bookers are on social media, add all of them, and be DMing them like, hey, this is me. And then that's basically an agent. You're being your own agent.
Literally.
So the internet has kind of taken away that middleman, you know. And as with a lot of industries. And she was actually talking about colorism.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a thing, a big issue in the modeling industry still?
You know, colorism is a big thing in this world. So always. I can't say I've had situations where I've been like, oh, that was blatant colorism. But in terms of the trends that you see, dark skin models aren't always the first to be included, or maybe they weren't. It's definitely changing with just the, arrival of so many different, African models in the last, for forever. But we've really had a beautiful wave of just supermodels, and like the new wave of supermodels. A lot of them have been just these beautiful, bold black women.
Like Kenya. Why do I always like Kenyan and stuff? And
they're
Congo.
Gorgeous. What do you mean? Like, yeah, obviously. But there still is a light narrative that the light skin model could get picked over a dark skin.
Is it like that the modeling industry, because depending on where you're from in Africa, we kind of have different looks. Mm-hmm. You feel me? And like Western Africans, I know Haitians come from like Western Africa, right?
I think. So I've got like Central Africa
or that too. I
Western
feel.
Africa.
I think they give more Western to me. But Western Africans have a certain look. Central Africans have a certain look. Northern Africans, I don't really see too many Southern Africans. I can't make. And then Eastern Africa, those are like the most. Those are the most. Like they have the sharpest look, basically. Like you can see an Eastern African and be like, "You're from Kenya," you know what I mean? Yeah. So is it because of that sharp look that they have that you think the modeling industry kind of goes after them?
I think it's more just the beauty. I think that strikingness is
striking. Yeah,
it's the beauty of the people, and you tend to find more beautiful. Not even tend, but it's like certain people look a certain way. Like you can tell when
like
Ethiopians,
though, like the northern, like that, like Rwanda, like
right. And
I've never seen a non attractive woman from that region.
Right. And so maybe that's not even maybe, but if there's more beauty there and people are starting to accept it more, and the industry is going to go there.
That's valid.
Yeah.
A thing with colorism that I've noticed in the modeling industry is that it doesn't affect men as much. Maybe I could be wrong. I also see this in Hollywood. You think of like the black male heartthrobs or in the modeling industry or even just acting.
Yeah.
They usually are dark-skinned men. But it doesn't seem that way with women. Do you notice that same thing?
I'm thinking, and I guess I am. I can't say I can observe that as well.
And I wonder why.
I do as well.
Why is that the one space?
Honestly, I couldn't say it's too deep, one color or the other. I feel like, we love black men, and as much as I'm thinking about it, like. There are a lot of light-skinned men that you see in Hollywood still. Yeah.
For me, I was just...
What do you see?
I kind of see... I see more dark-skinned men being more dominant in Hollywood. Like, the light-skinned men are there. Like, Will Smith, that's like the one guy I can think of. Can't really... Other than Will Smith, who is there?
Let's see.
Like darks, like is Idris Elba, Wesley Snipes, Denzel Washington, like all these like household names.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Will Smith.
There's Jesse Williams.
Who's Jesse Williams?
He is the blue-eye, light-skinned man.
Oh, from Grey's Anatomy?
Yeah.
Okay, that type of light skin is so light skin is like to the point where
He's
like,
still light skinned.
how black are you at that point?
He's still
like,
black man.
there's
no one is looking at him and being like,
that's the thing though. A lot of people kind of
like,
are though.
Yeah, but they're also looking at him and they're being like, he is at least black. At least. Some part of him has black.
There's two types of biracial. There's black and there's like how, because sometimes, you know what I mean?
Way, it's because
if it is 50-50, that means you're just as much white as you are black. So the way I look at it is like, where do your features lean in what culture or were you a part of growing up? And then that's the defining factor for me.
Okay. I hear you. I would disagree. I'd say, yes, of course, a half black person is going to be white, but they're also black. Like, there's nothing you can do to say they're not black at the end of the day.
I guess he's black.
How are we going to, try and reach into his gene pool and decide what, white or black features were going to be presented on him? That's still a black man.
You ain't lying.
It's a white man too, but it's still a black man.
You ain't lying. Like, for example, like Barack Obama is a black man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to me, it's like you're biracial, but you almost had to tell people you were biracial. Before, they probably would have just assumed you were a light-skinned person. To me, that person's black. But when it's like you're obviously like green eyes, like straight textured hair, that's like, you know what I mean? But I hear that too. Like, as soon as you got some black in you, you're black. Because that's how the majority of the world's going to see it.
I mean, yeah, they already do. But in literal technicality, yeah, just like how I'm American, but I'm also Caribbean American. I could say I'm Indian American. I could say I'm African American.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say I'm white because I don't have white. And won't actually, there is some white in me, but
for real,
yeah.
What side?
But there's white in everybody.
How?
Probably.
I don't think so.
Slavery. Think about it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, your Haitians were like.
So Trinidad and Tobago is on my mom's side, and Haiti is on my dad's side, and so the Haitian side of me, we were on a French plantation. The Trinidad and Tobagonian side of me, we were on a Scottish plantation.
Damn.
So think about what happened in history. That's why a lot of black people have white in them, and vice versa. I mean, you're very pressed to find somebody who is just black or white.
That's true.
Yeah.
That always presses me when I ask like black Americans like what they have in them, and I'm expecting them to like probably say some shit from like Africa, and they're like, I got a little bit of German, Dutch. I'm like, nigga, what?
Think about
like,
it.
cut it out.
Think about history and the slave
but then
trade.
it makes sense.
I didn't even think about this until I started hanging out with like, I have a Sudanese friend who was like, like my people weren't captured, and there were some tribes in Africa that didn't have their people captured or didn't sell their people. Yeah. And in that way, that's how you have some people who are like, of Africa, and they literally are just like 100% African.
That's me.
Boom. Your people came over in a different way. But a lot of African Americans came through the slave trade.
My people were on dirt. That's why I'm 100% African.
Okay. I mean, but that's history either way. It's not you, but that's...
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's history.
It's crazy to think about. You know what I was watching the other day? I was watching an episode of the Tyra Banks show.
Ooh.
I was watching like clips on YouTube.
Yeah.
Why'd you say ooh like that? Why'd you respond that way?
Like, there's so many different feelings with it. It's definitely, I have feelings of nostalgia, and parts of me love that show. But then also looking back, you're like, oh my gosh, like, how did this fly? Tyra, what was you doing? Like,
she was,
oof.
Yeah.
But it was the early 2000s, and not like that should be like an excuse. But there's always things that are coming out from that time where it's just like, we said what?
You don't think that would fly today?
What? There are a few things that would not have flown. I think there was a blackface episode or a blackface adjacent episode. There's definitely an episode where she was changing the races of people.
Changing the races of people.
Or maybe just giving people too much of a tan to where you look more cultural. There's been a few controversial little things that have, emerged. But at the end of the day, people do love that show too.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some clips, like seen a lot of clips actually. Let me quit the cap, but I've seen some of the clips that you're talking about where Tyra potentially could have said some things that aren't very nice. But the way I looked at it is this is very tricky because all I saw was Tyra being a coach. But because the modeling industry has to do with the physicality and the physical being, it just looks it sounds a lot worse than a football coach getting into some guy's ass because he missed a play. I just saw Tyra being a coach, getting into her girls' asses, her players essentially, get into their asses because they may have missed the play. Like, you're supposed to look a certain way for this shoot, and you didn't. So now I'm about to flame you. Yeah. Just like a football coach would flame his quarterback for missing a pass. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that was definitely going on. And
so that's the way I look at it.
I don't just write it off completely. But, yeah, were there some things that maybe shouldn't have flown? I think so. But I don't think we need to go back and hyper-analyze it necessarily. It's probably still streaming somewhere, and it's probably because it's not that bad. But were we a little insensitive back at that time? And not like we need to, hold the hands of people who are going to be late to go sees and whatnot. But, yeah, some of the photo shoots and some of the comments made in the photo shoots probably don't age well.
Mm-hmm. Was there a lot of racism on that show?
No.
Really?
I don't think so.
That's one thing that...
I think maybe a little bit of ignorance.
Ignorance?
Yeah.
Okay. That's one thing that I noticed a lot of people felt like, that there was a lot of racism and colorism on that show. And it was just like a mirror of what modeling was back then. Like, there was an episode where this dark-skinned girl, she had like a gap tooth. Mm-hmm. And then Tyra was talking, like, she went in on it. And she was like, you're going to have to close that, like, if you want to go far.
Right.
But then, like, a year later, a white girl had the same gap tooth, and then she was like, it's so eccentric and different, mm-hmm. eccentric and different, and you can make a lot of money off of this, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And then people put those two things together like a season apart, and it looked really, really bad.
Yeah. So
you wouldn't think that's like necessarily colorism, or?
So, well, yeah, that's one of those situations into which we'd probably have to go back and look and probably be like, yo, what was that? Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what I was saying is in terms of there were problematic things that happened for sure. But I think it was more so a symptom of already bad industry. Modeling back in the 2000s was, like I was saying, you need to be rail thin and you need to fit into some certain beauty standard. And I think that in that way, Tyra got into a lot of sticky situations trying to, coach people to be a certain way. But yeah, what do you mean by that? It does look off.
That looks bad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know who could have been a model?
Who?
She's out here acting loco right now.
Whomst?
Mrs. Jada Pinkett Smith.
Ah.
Have you been paying attention to what's going on? I wanted to ask you about this.
Yeah, so I have paid light attention. I'm not too much of a celebrity gossip person, but from what I've seen, maybe there's a little bit of bogusness, but I also think there is a little bit of sexism occurring in terms of what they've been saying and how it's being perceived.
Okay. Sexism in which way?
So from what I've seen, they have been saying that they're separated. Like back to when this August Alsina entanglement business came about, they told people, hey, we're separated in this time. And when they spoke on it, I guess we all just kind of thought that they were once again back together. But no, I guess they've just been separated. And now Jada wants to come out and talk about it, and people are just like, oh, whoa. what do you mean you guys are separated? And she's like, we've been separated.
Yeah.
And we kind of just let y'all in what's going on. And
no, they're like flat out divorced right now, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't even know if they're divorced, but they're not married, or they're not.
They're separated.
They're separated, but they're not divorced because they said they don't want to be divorced. And so, but this seems to have gone back to like, when was that happened? That entanglement business, like 2016? I don't even know.
Was that? Yeah, that was a minute ago. Maybe like 2019, 2018.
Right. Yeah, who even knows? But it was a while back. And like, this is not new, right? You remember all that?
I got into an entanglement. That shit was funny, bro.
That was so funny. But like, that was also their life. And if they're out here having entanglements, and we've been hearing things about how like they've been open and they're like Hollywood's freaky couple, like they may have not had the most traditional of marriages in the first place. And so now Jada wants to talk about it, and people are kind of trying to make it seem like Jada is like bullwhipping Will or something, but like no, they're probably both fully aware of what was going on in that thing, both sides, and now Jada's just ready to talk about it. Mm-hmm. And I can't imagine she's talking about it without him being okay with it in some way.
Jesus Christ. You think he's okay? Oh, okay. You're saying you can't imagine. You think he's okay with all this?
Of course.
You're the first person to say that.
I don't think he's not stupid. Celebrities are not stupid, and they have control over what comes out about them. And she was just talking about how they're still together, even if they're separated, like they are still in a partnership.
But what does this do for him, though?
I mean, if anything, it just catches everybody up to what's going on, because they're probably on the other side of the hill.
They just want people to get caught up.
Right. They're like, because that's how their lives are going to be, and they don't need to pretend like they're married anymore.
Valid.
Yeah, things have come out here and there about their lifestyle.
He's like, you do all the talking. I don't want to. Okay.
That's all I've ever seen. Because like you hear them on the Red Table Talk, like Will is ready to talk about it. Mm-hmm. And, they're already a very like celebrity, Hollywood aware family. They're not just doing nothing willy-nilly.
You were very valid about that.
Yeah.
You ain't lying. Because everybody, the number one question that everybody's been asking is like, Jada, why? Why are you putting your man on blast like this, bro?
I mean, they have probably put each other on certain amounts of blast over the years. I know, like, I've heard things that Will has done, and it's like, what? And
what has he done?
Like how he forced his ex-wife to basically divorce him by just kind of waiting her out.
Waiting her out?
Yeah, being like, because from what I saw, or from what I heard, he was like, I'm in love with another woman. This is when he started crushing on Jada. And his ex-wife
knew. Look at how it turned out. Crap.
His ex-wife knew. Jeez. And she's like, okay, well, I guess I'm just going to be here. And he's like, I don't want to serve the divorce papers. So he made life hell for her until she did it. But then you hear stuff
Why would he not want to serve the divorce papers?
I don't know, because he's petty. Like, we know Will is a little crazy.
All celebrities are crazy.
Exactly. So, I mean, we don't even know this man, but it's not like he is, America's sweetheart. They're people. And so that's just where their partnership has gone. And they, all throughout that, they've decided that they still want to be together in some way. And yeah, they're just letting people in on what's going on, I think.
Yeah, that's valid. It's just, for me, I can't imagine that a man with such a legacy, we know him as the Fresh Prince. This man has been in movies on movies, Mm-hmm. Fire legacy is really starting to come down to slapping Chris Rock and his crazy ass wife.
I don't think it will. It's going to be a part of his legacy, but that's a part of his life. But that's not.
That's crazy, though.
Yeah, but think about all the crazy things that have happened in people's lives. Like, some of your favorite people have some scandal.
Of course, and it stains their whole legacy.
Right, but I mean, I guess it depends on who's really looking. If you're gonna look at somebody and let that stain,
that's valid, because there's allegations.
But I mean, at the end of the day, like, yeah, he's the Fresh Prince. But he is just a man who decided to get into acting and have a wife and have kids. and like they're all just people, and we can't put them on pedestals like that to where they can't mess up or do anything crazy in their lives, because like we all do crazy shit.
That's true. Because if you make good art, like no matter what you do, people are going to separate the art from you.
Yeah.
Like people are still trapping it in the closet. You feel me?
That's true.
You know what I mean?
We shouldn't always do that. Sometimes you just got to throw the whole person away. Nah, I say it. Sometimes you got to throw the whole person away, because what the fuck? Sorry.
If you make
It's
a
not
good
that
song.
important. No. No, I don't believe in that.
She said throw the whole person away.
Sometimes, yeah, like it's just not even worth having to get into that energy.
Because I don't listen to music and like, oh man, R. Kelly, oh, such a good man. Like I don't necessarily do that. It's just like I'm a sing along, and I'm not even gonna think about R. Kelly. You know what I mean?
But at the end of the day, that is still the energy of R. Kelly perpetuated.
That's
frozen
a good
in
point.
the track, on and on and on and
That's
on
a good point, because a lot of songs he wrote was probably thinking about that type of shit.
Right.
Like oh,
like,
my
there are
mind's
so
telling me
many
no,
other
but my
songs.
body,
Right.
like that was literally about that shit.
Right.
That was literally about that shit.
And like,
so it's like when we're singing along the thoughts of a pedophile, basically.
Exactly.
My mind's telling me no, but my body's telling me yes.
why
That's
is it that
literally
important to
what
keep
he was
around
saying.
a questionable song, even if you don't even know it? Throw it all away.
When he just
You
hit the
don't
note
need it.
so good,
So,
though.
there are other R&B singers in this world. It is just not that serious.
You ain't lying.
Yeah. And I'm from the Chicago area. Like,
Are you really?
Yeah.
You're not originally from Milwaukee?
No, I've been here for 8 years.
Where are you from?
I'm from Gurnee, so I'm not from
Gurnee,
Chicago,
okay.
but Six Flags, yes. I grew up on the roller coasters.
You were always there?
Yes.
I bet.
Every summer,
Every weekend.
Gurnee parent is giving their kid a season pass and kicking them off there every
You know what
day,
we
like
used
summer
to do?
camp.
You know what we used to do? And we used to get, so my aunt and her family, they had season tickets, not season tickets, but season passes, and we would just like go to their house and get the card, because those pictures used to be so bad that they literally couldn't tell who was who.
Yeah.
Talking like 2010.
Yep, that's what
it was
you
like
do.
black and white and grady,
Yeah.
and like you really kind of couldn't tell, especially with black people. And on top of that, like white
We be
people,
giving our passes to friends
white people
all the
already
time.
think all black people look alike. So
It
if you're just in the
works.
relative age group as the person you're using, like, yeah, it would
Now
work.
they're getting all fancy and using thumbprints and shit. I haven't been there
Oh
in a
yeah,
while.
because they
but
probably lost a crazy amount of money.
So much.
Crazy amount of money.
So much. But yeah, no, I'm from the Chicago area, and like people around me love R. Kelly. I still driving around in the streets and I'm hearing R. Kelly, and I'm like, what are you?
Oh yeah, they
doing?
don't think he did it.
They don't think
They
he
think
did,
he's
but
innocent.
also this is the same Chicago that he was trolling the streets in. Like every single person from Chicago has some story about how their sister or their auntie or R. Kelly rolled up on them, and they're probably underage. For me, it's my ex-boyfriend's stepsister. She was 14 in high school, and R. Kelly pulled up on him in his little Piper. Yeah, no,
Oh, for real?
for real.
R. Kelly, he was trying to pull up on your ex-boyfriend's stepsister?
Yes. If you look back into that documentary, and they're talking about how he would just have young girls around him all the time, yeah, it all tracks. And he lived in Chicago. He was doing that shit in Chicago. We were all aware of it, and people just turn the blind eye. No, it is not that deep. Find another nigga to love.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
They do not play about their R. Kelly.
No.
A lot of them blame the parents, which the parents should have. I mean,
Absolutely. But
what was going on there?
I mean, irresponsibility, or maybe, a bunch of different things. Irresponsibility, maybe turning a blind eye, wanting
heard
to
they were
sell
doing
your
selling
soul
they were
to
like selling.
Hollywood. Like,
I was hearing like the parents were like selling their kid to the dog, like their kid to him, basically.
that could have happened as well.
It's like,
People are terrible.
I'll pay you money for her to just be here.
Like,
Like,
we'll never know exactly what happened in those situations. We can only watch the documentaries. We can only, absorb what there is, but we'll never know what went on. But if there's one thing that we know, not all people are good.
I don't like watching those documentaries.
It's
too much
I hear that,
hearsay.
but
You never know.
Well, that's true, and you have to take everything with a grain of salt. But I like to be well informed enough. I don't really watch the news like that. I'll read things that are decent sources. But yeah, if it's a documentary about some crazy shit, I'm probably going to watch it, except for there are a few things, but.
What's your favorite documentary that you've watched?
Favorite documentary that I've watched. I wouldn't say there's a favorite, but one that I think that Surviving R. Kelly one is probably the one that's coming out in my mind the most, as the most damn. And I think everyone should watch it.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't watched. I just don't like. Sometimes I know it's deserving, but I just don't like watching those documentaries where those exposés on black men. Because I'm sure it's deserving, but they be ready to make those.
Yeah,
they be ready to make those.
Think about all these
all the white boys not doing anything too.
Hold on. All these serial killer documentaries are about white men.
Because those they killed people.
Right.
Dozens of. That's very newsworthy.
Okay.
But I really don't think it's newsworthy.
There are not really black serial killers like that.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So maybe.
Well, our we do it differently when we're psycho.
There you go. But at the end of the day,
we join gangs instead. They shoot up schools.
Right. And there's documentaries about both of those things.
Yeah.
People are terrible, no matter what color they are, what gender they are. There are great people.
I feel like it doesn't take much for a black dude to get a documentary. Literally, they made a Kanye West and Kim Kardashian divorce. I don't even have to watch it to know they're about to vilify this man and drag him through the mud for what? For not being a good husband to Kim?
There are documentaries about everything. And Kanye actually did wild the fuck out. Yes, he is a genius, but that man has done some wild things.
To the point where a documentary needs to be made? I
mean, people make documentaries about newsworthy things that people want to know about. And so people want to know about Kanye West. Kanye West is highly newsworthy. And I really don't think it's one way or the other. I just think it's where the spotlight is being shown. But there are bad things about everyone out there.
I hear that. It's just for me, I just feel like they're just too quick to do that with black dudes. That's why I don't really, even if it's deserving, I'm sure R. Kelly did a lot of those things he's being accused of. It's just, I don't necessarily want to watch it.
I could see that, but I think you should put aside the fact that you are a black man and maybe just be there for the people. Because some people experience some crazy things by the hand of a crazy person. And he doesn't have to be a black man or a white man. He could just be a pedophile. You could just not associate with him from that.
That's valid. That's valid. Before we wrap this up, can you tell me some of the things that you've learned about being a supermodel?
Ooh, okay. What people think about you cannot matter. It can't matter. You cannot go around worrying about how you're being perceived. It will make you very anxious, and it will make your life probably pretty empty.
Yeah.
Because you don't know yourself when you don't know what you like and what you want to live for. So as much as you can do to just remember that you are the only person living in your brain, and you just have to create paradise for yourself. You just be strong. And I think that maybe it could be brought to everyone. Create your own paradise and don't look at anyone who's trying to rain on you.
Why do you think people need help with that? Seeing that.
Not everyone accepts themselves naturally, and it's work to accept yourself sometimes, because there are beautiful things, ugly things, so many different things in a person. But if you can look at all the things that you bring and just love every part of you, even if you have to love something to make peace with it and get it out of your cycle, you can really be like a superhero, because nothing is going to affect you to shake your core.
Mm-hmm. I also feel like sometimes we get too caught up in what other people think.
All the time.
Because, we don't want to be alone.
Yeah.
And to learn yourself and know what you like, you've got to be alone. Got to experience loneliness for a little bit. And a lot of us are running from those feelings.
Yeah.
So we never learn who we are.
Yeah. You got to feel
And then what's there to do is
everything that happens to you, or else you're just not going to get over it.
Precisely.
You just internalize it and keep repeating it. But yeah.
Like something that I've been dealing with right now, I'm mad strong-willed. Like if I want to do something, I just do it. And that spills over to the way you can communicate with people. It's come to my realization that like I get into people call debates a lot, and I don't mean to. It's just like I enjoy concepts. Most people talk, they're passionate about he said, she said, Shelly and Brandon are going to the club this weekend. Or when Brandon was there, Shelly did this and he didn't like it. Like most people are passionate about that stuff. That does not fulfill me. If you talk about that around people all day, it's cool. Nobody has a problem. Like gossip and all that and like what the community is doing. But I've noticed the second you start talking about concepts, ideas, structures, people start to get really, really tensed.
Yeah.
And like for me, I started to think maybe I should like scale back a bit or a lot of bit, basically, because I've noticed majority of people don't think that way. That's not what wave they're on. But then I'm like starting to be like, but that's also what's made me do some really cool things at this point in my life. It's just that like that drive, that hunger for knowledge and concepts, ideas.
Yeah.
And most people haven't done cool shit. So it's like I need to go back to that space where I necessarily didn't care about what people thought more. Because when I was at my peak and not caring about what people thought, I was just building, getting opportunities, achieving goals. But then the second where like my mind started to get clouded about like my perception, how I'm perceived to other people, and when I started to become more aware of that, I noticed my drive started to.
Yeah.
So that shit is real as fuck.
Looking around and not looking up can really take you off your path.
You can't be like, okay, what do I look like? How do people think about me? How am I perceived? Do I look stupid? Do I look cool?
Right.
You can't be doing that and expect to go up at the same time. You know what I'm saying?
It won't work.
It will not work.
But
you are playing yourself.
Yeah, but there is a certain thing to be said about moving with poise and
Precisely.
The right time and the right place. So maybe you did need to meter yourself. Maybe you did need to check yourself.
For me, it was balance is key.
Yeah, we all need to check ourselves because, yes, balance is the thing. Everything needs balance. Even you can't have too much of a good thing. Can't have too much of a bad. You got to find the medium.
That's why for the balance sometimes is not necessarily muting yourself to make people comfortable, but balance is key. Okay, just don't be around the people that you feel like you need to mute yourself.
You got to find
the people where you could be yourself, and that's balance right there.
Yeah,
like you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
You're not putting yourself in environments where you need to change yourself.
Yeah, your energy is never going to be too much for the place where it's supposed to be.
Where it's
received.
supposed to be, exactly.
And if you are ever feeling like you're in a situation where people are taking you where way that you don't like to be taken, or you feel crazy, you feel out of your body, you're probably not supposed to be there. You're probably not supposed to be around that person. That's a big indicator for me. If I ever feel out of peace, if I ever feel out of whack, I'm going to look around and be like, okay, where am I pulling this energy from? Because this is not me. This is not my peace. And then that's a great indicator that I just need to move myself on out.
You ain't lying. Julia, you are the woman. Thank you so much for coming on my show.
Thank you.
Big inspiration to be keep doing a good job, keep doing the things you're doing. I even forgot to mention you are so popping around this city. I was literally driving by the Pfizer Forum a couple months ago. I saw like a picture of you on it. They were like advertising Bucks t-shirts.
Oh, cool.
And like I told you about it, you didn't even know.
I didn't, and I don't think I saw it either. And
that was like a light flex right there. It's like, oh, really? That's nice.
Thank you.
I'm like, girl.
Thank you for letting me know about that. That is a huge thing in the modeling industry. They don't always tell you about your ad placements.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you got to go.
You know you're in the Bucks Pro Shop too?
Yeah, I think they maybe switched it out by now, but I was in the pro shop. And
that looked legit. That looked really fire.
Fun.
So do they do that because you're the model on like the Spirit team, or is it like everyone who's on the Spirit team gets those pictures and advertisements?
I think it was both. I think they started, pulling from entertainers to get those photos in the pro shop, and then they're like, hey, why have we done this? And then we did it.
Who's the dude that like is basically like the host of the game that like be interviewing people around the stadium and like?
Well, so we actually
did he just apply for that job, or
we have new hosts now, and I haven't met them yet. But are you talking about Mondo?
He was like a Latin kid, I think.
Yeah, DJ Mondo with the curly hair.
Oh, you got to be a DJ. Okay.
Well, you don't have to be a DJ, but that's his moniker, DJ Mondo.
DJ Mondo.
But yeah, it was Mondo, Jackie, and Mel. Those were the last hosts I was with.
What are they doing now?
So Mel is now working for Bally as a sideline reporter, I believe.
I've seen that. Yeah.
Yes.
She used to be on ESPN's like radio too, right?
Yeah, she's been doing everything.
Yeah, she's the Bucks.
She's on the Truth and everything.
She's the Bucks sideline sports reporter.
Yeah. Mel is my girl, and I feel so bad. I called her a host the other day. She's like, "Girl, the price went up."
She said the price went up.
She didn't, but she was like, "I'm actually a reporter."
She's a reporter. Yeah, I would be mad too.
She's over here doing. As she should have.
Yeah.
Mel, girl, I love you. Just know her title is Big Tigs. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jackie, my girl, she just got engaged. And so she's out here doing life, leveling up. And then Mondo is out here, and I don't think he's with the Bucks again, but he is doing like every single high school prom, homecoming.
Oh, so he's just a host. I got you.
He's a DJ.
Oh yeah,
and
after
host.
doing the Bucks games, that's pretty solid on your resume, especially for local gigs.
Yeah, so shout out all of them. Shout out all my Bucks friends, all my The Rock friends, all of my Develop Model friends, my family.
Julia, you are the lady. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you guys for watching another episode of the Greatly Destined podcast. I'm Zay.
I'm Julia.
And Julia. And we are out of here. Thank you.